Wanted to welcome a very good friend of mine, Jin, to this. We don't even know what it is. It's not a podcast.
Okay.
It's just we're not sure how we're gonna use this content.
Okay.
We're just gonna chop it up.
Bro, do you have a name for this thing yet?
No, because I don't even know what it is.
What about you just call it, what is this?
What is this? Welcome to What Is This?
Yo, what?
Welcome to What the hell is
this?
this? All right, cool.
Congrats, man.
Appreciate it.
Even though we don't know what this is, but congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats that it's off the ground. I'm glad to, what am I, like the 9,000th guest?
No, it's been Joe and you.
Dang. It's an
Joe
honor.
is just here.
Does he know what this is?
No, no, his is a little different. His is turning. We were talking about he won Player of the Week.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so we're
that might
talking
be
about
the
that a little
thing.
bit.
Maybe every episode, whoever you have up here is just figuring out what is this. So, but I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Nah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I want to start off. What are you doing here? Like, why are you in Taipei? Like, why are we even in the same room right now?
Okay. So specifically, I was in Hong Kong. And so, I like details. I love details. I was in Hong Kong for work. I had like a gig out there. But it just so happened that between two gigs, I had like a window of 4 or 5 days that was open. And initially, I was just going to be there, whatever, right? Like eating ice cream, catching up on Netflix shows. But then somehow, some way, I came across the fact that you had a game, that the Kings had a game. And then I was just like, yo, why didn't I think of this way before? Like these 3-4 days, I should have already thought about coming out to find you. So literally it was maybe like 2 to 3 days before the game. And I hit up my boss, my manager, the mother of my children, my wife, Carol. Shout out to her. I always shout out her. I was like, I'm going to go watch, the Kings game in Taipei. And I knew that she wasn't going to oppose to it at all because she's always encouraging me to hang out with you. She just wants me to hang out with people that can have a positive influence on me. So I knew she wasn't going to give me any resistance. And then that's how I started it. Then she's like, all right, I'll set up a play date for you and Jeremy. Because she set up quite a few already. So this isn't the first one. So then I think aside from just the game, I also was like, well, I have a few days, so after the game, it would be cool to hang out too, pending how free you are. Little did I know that, yeah, you had a couple days where we could like grab food and just kick it, and then here we are. Then in the middle of eating at the the night market. Oh yeah, I'm doing like this podcasting. Come on by, and then here we are. So
All right. And I do remember getting a text from Carol saying, you are the only person that I would wake up at 4 a.m. to book a flight for Jin for, okay?
bingo. So she's a big part of this. So
Yeah,
that's
thanks
why I'm
for-
here.
Thanks
this
for holding
trip.
it down.
Absolutely. That's why I'm here this trip. But again, man, thank you for being so welcoming. You and just, I know you have like all type of things on your plate between obviously the team and the season kicking off, your own personal life, and then like photo shoots and stop. But it's facts though. I'm not making this stuff up. But yo, for you to like fit me in there, I appreciate it. So I appreciate it.
Jin and I, very, very close. He came out to support. Oh my God. We need to get footage of you from the game against the Braves. This fool.
I was going crazy.
No, this fool was going actually crazy. He was, first off, he was courtside on the Fubon Braves. We're at their arena. He's on their side under the hoop, and they're shooting free throws on their championship ring night in their home court.
Yeah.
And you got a Kings jersey, and you're holding up a pillow, jumping on the baseline, getting them
Facts.
to miss free throws.
During
And
the
I'm
free
like,
throws.
yo, if there is not somebody who really rocks with me, like that is the epitome of it. And that was
It's funny you bring that up, yo. Like I had to, after like 3 or 4 times that they went to the free throw line, I pulled myself back a bit. By the way, I was very conscious to pull myself back because thank you for alley-ooping this to me. So number one, bro, I've watched games in the States, right? Like I'm not gonna say like I'm a regular NBA game watcher, but I've been to enough live games. I've watched basketball as a kid. Everybody knows if you're sitting behind the rim during free throws, there's two responsibilities. If it's your team that you're rooting for that's shooting the free throw, everybody don't move. You just like chill, let my man focus. But opposingly, if it's the team you're rooting against, so to speak, they're shooting free throws. Bro, you're going as crazy as you can, right? Like, I would have took my shirt off if I wasn't so insecure about my body. But so for the first 2 to 3 times that they were at the line, I was going crazy. Like, because everybody behind me was doing what they were supposed to do, which was just silence, let them focus. But there were like a couple moments, about a third, fourth time that I do it, maybe because I was so singular in my wilding out, that I was like, this might really be rubbing them the wrong way. Like, it's like, you're getting annoying now, right?
Yeah, because there's 9,000 people there and 8,997, meaning my 2 parents and you.
Yo, even Papa Lin was sitting on the couch right next to me, and I'm sure he might have been like, dial it back, young man. But I pulled it back, and I would like to think, the ones that they did miss helped us, right? And then it's all about positivity too, because when after halftime, when y'all were coming this way and y'all were shooting free throws, I wasn't going crazy, but I was definitely in there like, let's go, you got it, quietly. And hey, you was dropping the penalty shots. So I mean, I try to do my part as a fan, as someone in the stands. In fact, there was this one lady, shout out to her, Ayi, when I was standing up, she was like, and I apologized to her too. I was like, anting. I was like, I'm gonna sit down, right? But that was the red flag for me to be like, Jin, I think you should pull it back. This is their home court. You are in this yellow jersey. Look around you. So yeah, but again, I'm glad y'all got the W, and it made it everything more just like a perfect evening for me. I had so much fun at that game. So
I appreciate it. How do we meet? How and when did we meet?
How do we meet? I remember it. I remember the details. So I think before actually face-to-face meeting, we interacted on a phone call.
Yeah.
And I do have like a couple of very vivid memories. So to put it in timeline, before Linsanity, you were on my radar already. And this is actually me looking online, like looking at your high school runs, looking at your college runs. And then I think so before Linsanity, I think it was like when you were still at Golden State. Like that, what was happening there. Kind of the trials and tribulations of that chapter of your journey, right? Making the team, trying to get play time, and just all the variety of things. And that made me look deeper into, like your high school, college run. And I'm just like, oh, this, okay, like, he's about it. Like me, just meaning like, okay, for me, as just like, I guess you could say your everyday basketball fan. I'm not even going to be like, I go deep and I can like really analyze the game like, in that level. But just as a basketball fan, if I'm just looking at the basic, simple things like, how much does this guy love playing ball? And skills obviously is important, right? So if I'm just like, as a person watching it, I'm like, oh, he nice. Bottom line, like that's the important thing. But just as much the Asian factor, and I know we're probably going to dive into this thing at some point later in the conversation, but I'm not going to deny that was really like something that pulled me in, right? Because there's a lot of nice ball players out there, right? That's for sure. There's a lot of garbage ball players out there too. Let's just call it what it is. But I'm saying, so it would be unfair if I was just like, look at this Asian kid balling out in high school, balling out in college. Or I was just look at this ball player. I would be a lie if I was like, it was purely what you were doing on the court that pulled me in. But I'm saying what you were doing on the court is super important too. Because the point is, if you were just the Asian dude doing that, I probably still wouldn't have been like, I got to learn more about this guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying it was a combination. Simultaneously, I can't refute that. The fact that I'm watching this young Asian dude ball out, right, in his high school gym, in the college, and all of that, just two things combined made the perfect thing to draw me, Jin, in. So just learning about you and then reading articles about you. And here's a big thing. Even at that point, just how rooted you were and vocal you were about your faith, right? So this is all, hey, God's kind of, he's so specific with how he plans stuff in our lives. At that point, on my own personal journey, I was also like kind of just coming into it, I guess you could say, but also like really on fire about what God was doing in my life and helping me navigate my career, my own personal things. So I think just organically right there, right out the gate, there were these commonalities that drew me into the Jeremy Lin story and who you are as a young person and whatnot. And then there's a common person, shout out to Carl, because Carl, I don't know the backstory of how he crossed paths with you, but I had known Carl for years. And Carl was like, I know Jeremy, or like we've met before, or whatever. So he kind of connected us through that phone call. Specific, yeah. I think he was physically in a place with you when he was on the phone with me, and he's like, "Here, talk to him," and then or it was he specifically like put that together so I could speak to you, and that phone call was kind of like the kickoff of it, and then later on, I think the first time meeting was probably in New York when later on after all the twists and turns when you landed in New York, because I was following it from that point already, but following the twists and turns, and then I guess you could say at the kickoff of Linsanity, I was watching it from. I started watching it from the States. I was in New Jersey for that first New Jersey game. No, I should say I was in New York during that New Jersey game, the Nets game. And then later on, when it was really starting to ramp up, I was in Hong Kong at the time. And I bring this up because I also remember waking up at 6, 7 a.m. to catch the live broadcast in Hong Kong, you know. And then later on, just meeting you just throughout the years, connecting. I think a lot of the outreach stuff that you were doing, you would invite me to be a part of. And then even just on a side note, just meeting up to catch up, eating, you know. So that's kind of the story for the world.
Yeah, and on my end, obviously it's hilarious because you're like, if you take it out of context, it sounds really funny. It's like, oh, you've been on my radar for a long time. I was looking you up online. But I mean, similarly, on the flip side, you were on my radar for a long time. Obviously, we all knew 106 in Park, Jin. But when I was at Harvard, you know, I hung out with mostly athletes. Basically, I didn't really hang out with that many Asians. And we would play softball, intramural softball. And I sucked at softball. I'm horrible at it. And but they said choose your at-bat song. Yeah. So mine was learn Chinese. Yeah. And now, you know, I'm walking up. No other Asians are on a softball field for I am softball. And I'm with all my basketball and football homies. Yeah. And they're all like, what is this song? And I got to educate them about all of it. And so that was the beginning of it. Gotcha. Then I kind of got in touch with you and everything. And we knew each other from almost like a celebrity to celebrity, like at a distance in the beginning, just like a little bit touch points here and there, do some events together, whatnot. Yes. But what I would say now, having known you for, 15 years or so, is the biggest thing that I respect about you is, and I always it's kind of messed up, but I feel you really learn who somebody is when the cameras aren't there. Like when it's not like, oh, the fans and whatever, like beyond all that, who is somebody? Yeah. And so I was always so impressed with how you carried yourself. Same thing, just vulnerability, right? Like I think Brene Brown has a great book that talks about vulnerability as a sign of strength, not weakness. Yeah. And so the way that you've talked about your career, your struggles, your battles, been very real. And then, and I told you this many times before, but the way that you interact with people, I mean, it could be anybody. It could be a fan. It could be a janitor or somebody holding the door open at your show. Yeah. Or it could be just somebody that you don't even know, a Uber driver last night at the night market, just like somebody selling corn, grilled corn. Just like those interactions are pure.
I only talk to people that sell grilled corn. You notice I didn't say anything to the octopus lady. I walk right by her. It's like grilled corn, yo, grilled corn, dude. What's up? And then the octopus lady, hey, 是吗? And I'm just like, nah. But I feel you now.
No, but I gotta tell this one story. Yeah. So I got COVID. I got COVID. I was in the hospital for 3 months during that time. Yeah. I came out, met up with you. Yeah. And I'll never forget how you interacted with that fan in Shanghai. And I remember learning so much just from that one interaction. But you literally said yes in the nicest way. I'll take a photo. You stopped. You asked them their name. You asked them how they're doing. Like you actually had a conversation with them. And then at the end, you were like, you gave them encouragement. And then you're like, Jayo. And I was just like, if I could be half of that with the fans that I meet on the street, like I would consider myself extremely like, oh, that would be ideal for how I would want to interact with people. So again, ton of respect, which you already know, very appreciative. And that's kind of, the origin story of how we had met to where we're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, man. To me, what I take away from what you just shared is that, people are always watching, right? When you know it or not, they're watching. But I think the beauty is in operating under the mindset that it doesn't matter who's watching, right?
Yeah.
Or it doesn't matter if anyone is watching or not watching. I think the goal is to just be as authentic and yourself, right? So I wouldn't put too much weight on, you know, like you looking at how I interact from my angle, because yeah, you know, it's something that is just how I carry, you know, how I am, you know. So I wouldn't give myself too much credit about it, but I will say that it's very encouraging to hear from someone else, especially someone that I have a lot of admiration for, to say that, man, like, yo, when I watch you in those type of settings, it is very like encouraging, and I can pick up things from it. So that's cool, man. I appreciate it.
No worries. No worries. I'm gonna have to ask you to do a freestyle.
Oh, you really going into it right now? Yeah, sure.
No, we'll do it later.
Oh,
We'll do it
okay.
later. But before we get to the freestyle, people don't know
That.
we made a song together. And when I say we made a song together, I mean you made a song and then told me what to say and then helped me out and then
Yeah.
taught me in the studio.
Yeah,
and then,
we did.
But DE 对手
DE
translation is number one opponent.
Yeah.
And this was 100% inspired, written, produced, all of that by you.
Yeah.
So you gotta take it from here, man.
Okay, I'm the only one that's in my way.
我每次拿起篮球都是千方百计，无论状态还是实力不停在升级，在一瞬间好像无可匹敌，还有时候觉得简直无能为力。
Yo, I think it was really fun indeed, but also meaningful for me. You know, I think just to get to do something of that nature with you, if I remember correctly, that was for like a TV program.
Yeah.
So if essentially we were doing like a TV, like a variety show together. You were kind of like it's like a profile on you and your journey for the most part, but they pulled me in to kind of be like a piece in it, right? And then they had set up this scenario or arranged for me to like link up with some of your family and then link up with you, and there's just a lot of components to it. But one component was they wanted me to make a song. And I don't know if they suggested it or if I suggested it. I was like, well, I'm gonna make a song. Jeremy's got to be on it. He got to rap. I need him to go crazy, you know. But nah. And I think when I first suggested it to you, obviously you were like, you didn't like shut it down, but you was like, I don't know, man. Like I don't, you know. You were open to the idea. I had to I remember like pull you into it, like, no, you got this. You good. I'm just telling you. Just trust me. We're gonna make. And then the song came to life. We in the studio together. Now, shout out to Danson. That's my production friend. He, I gave him the vision for what I wanted it to sound like. Told him kind of the core message of the song and the vibe I was going for. So he killed the beat. But yeah, even as I was writing it, I had my own thoughts of what I wanted to convey. But a lot of what I incorporated into it lyrically, there's like English and Mandarin, really draws from not only my own journey, but also yours too, right? At least what I can take away from your journey. And a lot of what you've shown on court, off court, and put it in this song. And I think the core thing about 第一对手, meaning like, ultimately we're our first opponent, right? Whether you're rapping, whether you're balling on the court, you got to overcome yourself first before you could beat or defeat anyone or anything, right? In that sense, or come out victorious, whatever that means. So I think that's just what I'm trying to say is like for anyone that's trying to attempt to overcome something or try something new, you are your own first opponent that you need to defeat and overcome, right? Those fears and insecurities. And I think you killed it. You know what I mean? Like, look, there's been a lot of ballers that have recorded raps. So obviously, like, it wouldn't be fair, like, to, like, I'm just listing all the people in my mind that have done raps. Yo, the late, great Kobe's done a rap, right? Shaq dropped a whole album.
Yep.
Iverson's dropped a couple songs. Dame Dollar, a.k.a., I know him as Dame Dollar. Damian Lillard. Yeah, Lillard. Yeah. Dame Dollar. He has a rap name, so he went all
and
the way.
his stuff is good.
Yeah.
Iman Shumpert.
Shumpert's dropped stuff.
Yep.
I'm going to keep going. Yo, like a lot of ballers have dropped verses, songs. Like, yo, but Shaq probably went all the way in with a full album. But I will tell you, if I throw you into that equation, out of all of them, you know how you beat them? You're the only one that rapped in Mandarin. Come on, Shaq. Where's your Mandarin album at, huh? He'd probably be like, ni hao. And that's it. He'd just be like...
That's a good impression.
Like, I'm the only person to ever do a Shaq impression speaking Mandarin, though. I guarantee that. I don't think anyone's ever done it. Li shu hao. 林书豪，你不是我的对手。
Hey, we need to cut that up and at him.
Yo, shout out to all of the basketball player, identities that have ventured into rapping, and you're one of them. So I mean, obviously, I'd like to ask you, what is your feelings and thoughts from that whole experience?
I mean, my biggest thing, so I have this kind of, it's not a rule, it's a principle, I guess, but just like something about my personality is when I do something, like, and my family and friends know this about me, it's like, if they ask me like, oh, what do you want to eat? If you wanted to eat somewhere, I would want to do that more than where I actually want to eat myself. Mm-hmm. Like, I enjoy shared experiences, and I do enjoy doing things with people that I love a lot. Like, I love video games, but I don't play video games by myself.
Okay.
So if I'm playing by myself, I don't play.
Okay.
But if somebody I love is like, yo, let's play, I'm like, I got you.
Okay.
So never did I ever want to do a rap song or be, ever.
Yeah.
But then when you said that, like, only somebody I'm really close with could ever get me to venture into that.
Okay.
So you definitely pushed me outside my comfort zone. And I remember getting to the studio and I was trying to hype myself up. I even brought the Bruce Lee t-shirt.
Yeah.
You'll see in the music video, I got that Bruce Lee t-shirt.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, you got to channel
Bruce it gives you a special sort of energy.
A little inspiration. Okay. And I was like, all right. My biggest thing was like, just don't suck. Yeah. Just don't be like awful. If you were just like Ipan average or just even below average, I can accept that. Just don't be like at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
And then the first few times, like you're like, you were so nice about it, but I was like trying to read between the lines. You were like, "That's good," which translation is that's not good.
Yeah.
And then you're like, "That's good," but and then you'd be like, try to, and your whole thing was like trying to get me to come out my shell, try to get me to just like really go for it, trying to get me to like believe in it, and so I remember having to take like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 takes, and it was kind of mentally exhausting.
But that's normal too, though. It is mentally exhausting
because I'm thinking like, hey, this is my max, and then you kept pushing me a little bit more, like, no, there's more, and da-da-da. So I really appreciate that the final product, and even when I see the final product in my mind, that was like 110% of like immersing myself in the music, and then I see me next to you, and like I seem so chill next to you, and I'm like,
okay,
wow, it is so hard. Again, you never like understand, when you're world class, so like you don't understand what it takes to be world class until you actually try it yourself, and so that gave me a whole new perspective on music, on what you do, on the talents, and I will say, one hit wonder. I'll probably never be stepping back in the studio.
But I'll say, watching you in there is a certain like, in any like setting. So here we are in a recording studio on a basketball court, or you mentioned just how you are by nature. I think there's something I saw that is evident too, which is like there is like I'm willing to keep pushing if that's what's required.
Because the song is fighting against yourself, number one opponent. So I'm like, I gotta do it.
That's all I needed you to kind of embrace that notion and channel it back into that whole session. And the number one reason why I felt I had a responsibility to push you out of that shell and be like, yo, we can nail this and you will nail this. Like why I had to cling on tight to that idea is because, bruh, like we already booked the studio. Yo, the hotels have been booked for the whole crew. We had like 19 cameras rolling. There's no turning back, right? Like, it's not even about me and you anymore at that point. It's like the whole platform. So I was like, all right, I have to help him walk through this, and we're going to walk through it together. But I think if you go back, for anyone, you check out the song and you listen to it and you watch it, there's obviously going to be things that you can nitpick about it, right? Like there's just anything in life. Any artist, any athlete, any game, anything, someone can nitpick about it. But I think if you were to look at it from a perspective of even the idea of the song, overcoming yourself, man, I think you did that like tenfold.
I appreciate that.
Like if they told me that I had to go play in an all-star game, like obviously I'd be like, bruh, like come on. But I would look at it as, all right, I'm gonna do what I can. I mean, I never played in an all-star game, but I played a couple of your charity games.
Yeah.
I did my thing, though.
You did.
I said
You
I was
did.
going to score 3 points, and what did I do? I scored 3 points.
I think you had more in one of them. You had like 10 you had close to 10 in one of them.
Yeah,
But no, you always supported my charity games and stuff too, which I appreciate. That's hilarious. All right.
This is stuff that I feel like we talk about, kind of on and off camera too. We've had a lot of conversations over the years, and I think one thing that, whether we say it or not, even though we have acknowledged it with each other, is that some of the parallels of our journey, right? I think specifically, just to hit the nail on the head, just venturing into a field that, let's just say, for lack of better words, like, Asians weren't traditionally known for. Right. And I always emphasize this to people, even when they bring it up to me. I've been called the rap game Jeremy Lin. And that's one of my, it brings me joy when people say that. And people say it in different contexts, right? Some might be, and I feel like you're real enough with yourself. I'm real enough with myself. We're real enough with the world to know that, some people might say it from a perspective of like a positive light, right? Which is like, y'all made your mark, right? And it's like, so when they say it like that, obviously it's super endearing, because no matter how they say it, I take it as a badge of honor, simply because of how I view you, not only as a baller, but as a person, right? So anytime you're like, oh yeah, he's like the Jeremy Lin of the rap game, you know what I mean? And they say that from different angles, but let's just say when they do try to put a spin on it, which is like the other type of way of saying it, not necessarily in the positive light, because I'm not going to lie to myself and say that people don't look at it like that too, right? So it's like, okay, whether it is maybe like the tumultuous aspect of our careers and reaching a certain place, but maybe not reaching a place that they wanted me to or thought I would, and just all these different angles, right? But to me, nonetheless, I say it behind closed doors. I say it to the world. It's an honor to be even seen like that, because I know the magnitude of what you did, and for all it's worth, like, man, you are a one of one. So to even be called the rap game Jeremy Lin, that means I'm a one of one too, right? Like, so, but I will say that I've always been curious between when you started till now, kind of what would you think is the biggest change in that piece? Like the whole being Asian in a field that, yes, traditionally, here we are talking about the league, NBA, and then let's say for me it's the rap game, like, because I'll say this first, because for me as a young, I'm really curious to know this. For me as a young kid, right, if I think back to when I was like 14, 15, which is when I knew that this was my path, I'll be honest, the element of who I am, what I look like, it existed. But I'll say that for me, I didn't dwell on it, number one. And in some cases, although it existed, you could say I was oblivious to it. Mainly because when I think back about it, I was just so hyper-focused on one thing, which was the rapping, right? My rhymes, my flows, just being tunnel vision about, I'm just trying to be the best rapper on the planet. I don't even care about Asian, black, white, Hispanic, whatever color, right? I'm just nice, and anybody that steps to me, I don't care. You could be whatever, and I'll prove it, right? So I have so much tunnel vision that I do think that element of my identity, although I loved being Asian, but I'm just saying, like, it wasn't such a big thing to me in the sense of, like, it wasn't like a talking point in my mind or anything. Truthfully, it wasn't until after I got in the game, so to speak, and was making more and more headway, that it became more and more apparent to me that, oh, this is going to be something that's going to be with me pretty much for as far as I can see down the line, and point in case, it still is now, So I'm just curious, like, for you, what that part looked like from a kid to now, like, I guess.
Man, first off, you are one of one, for sure. And I would say there's so many parallels. I grew up everybody saying, like, that's the Asian. But to me, when I looked at everybody else, it was like, oh, I'm going to make all of you my lunch meat. You know what I mean? Kind of the same mentality that you have. Like, I don't care who you are. If you step up and play against me, it's lunch meat. Yeah. And for me, that was like my chip on my shoulder. And I was like, I want to be the best basketball player that I can be. I want to be known for my craft. Yeah. And so naturally, it's like the one tag that everybody's trying to give me, I'm like, I don't want that tag. Yeah. I don't need it. Like, recognize my art. Like, I'm an artist. Yeah. I have a great art. and you're just talking about the color of my skin. You're not talking about my art.
Yeah.
And so as I go through that, life goes on. Like you said, I hit this peak of insanity, and as we're coming down from that, all these different things happen. And up until that point, I just thought racism was like, you're a chink.
Yeah.
Go back to China.
Yeah.
You can't even see the scoreboard. Orchestra's on that side of campus. Chicken fried rice.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? Like, I was like, okay, that's racism. But then I started to see all the statistics about what's actually happening, microaggressions, things like that. I started to see systemic issues. I started to realize that racism stems from systemic issues, and if we don't have more representation, like, we really, like, that matters so much. I didn't realize how much it mattered, and so that started to shift my perspective of like, dang, I need to lean into this. I need to lean into my identity as an Asian basketball player, as an Asian, period. And so, I think we've talked about it. And, again, all the parallels, like last year, actually this year, my therapist was talking to me, and she said, when I listen to your life and your journey, it's really exhausting because you're a trailblazer, you're a history maker, and no one's ever walked your path. That's exhausting for you to always be the only one and to always be in a leadership position. And her suggestion to me was, can you find one person in your life that can relate to you the most? And can you lean into that and like be intentional about spending more time with that person? So I thought about it, which you already know this story. And I was like, man, it's Jin. And so I was like, I respect him. I know him. We have a lot of parallels. We know the cost of making history, but we also know what it looks like to have high success and to then lose that success. And so that's why, what we've started doing of late is, every so often we get on these conversations and we just chop it up for extended amounts of time. And that it was inspired by my therapist trying to get me to kind of relate to somebody else. But again, the power of representation and just how few of us are out there, that in different industries, it's like, I can't even find another basketball player that I think really understands what I've been through.
Yeah. I'm just processing everything. I mean, anybody that knows me on any level knows that I rarely don't have something to say. And you know that. And I think anybody that has even experienced me in some small fashion knows I'm rarely like have nothing to say. But as I listen to you say everything, especially what you just shared, like, yeah, it's very sincere, and it's very like, it is very like encouraging, and there's a sense of peace when you do somewhat hear things that you're like, I get every single thing that you're saying. And I think I'm very observant, right? So a lot of times when we're hanging out and we talk and I'm sharing about something, I can see how intent you are when you're listening. And especially when I touch on certain points that I guess strike a chord in you, I can see it on your face.
Yeah.
I can see it on your face and your body language, which is fine. I observe everybody like that. But that was dope though, man. Like, I felt the tear ducts were like starting to open a little. Good thing you pulled it back a bit, because it's definitely starting to come down. And Carol would have been like, did you cry on his podcast? Okay, so here's something that I've only started pondering on in the last year or two, even though it's something that's existed for so long, apparently. But I will say maybe it wasn't on my radar that much. But because I've been hearing so many other individuals say it, particularly Asian American males. You're Asian American male, I'm Asian American male. Many people listening, watching, might be Asian American male. So nonetheless, whoever this can resonate with, I don't know. But what I've been hearing a lot of in the last year or two, with kind of the Asian representation factor kind of making progress, right? Like in sports, in pop culture, in media, in film, in music, just across. There's still a long way to go, but we are making progress. And I have to say that because as someone that came into this 20 years ago, I have a very clear view of where we were and where we are now, or where we've been and where we need to continue going. But the one sentiment that I hear and see with a lot of these figures, some I know, some I don't know, some I might have met before, but just the sentiment, these are Asian American males, basically saying straight flat out, I'm finally proud to be Asian. Or I was never, man, I used to hate being Asian. And I'm not gonna lie, I heard it so much in the last year or two that it started to be something that I would like really like sit on and chew. And number one, it kind of breaks my heart because number one, I didn't know that it was so prevalent. And the other thing is, I hear that sentiment or I see that sentiment, and I reflect back on my own life journey. I'm 41 this year, but as an Asian American male, I don't think I've ever not liked being Asian. I like even like, you know, like as a child, you know, you just growing up in where I grew up in Miami, like did I encounter like, you know, like everything you said earlier, like in your context of playing the game and being in those environments, like something that's, yo, where's the chicken fried rice, right? Like, what are you talking about? I'm on the court, you know what I mean? Like you bouncing your ball, getting ready to shoot a free throw. General So's gonna miss it, General So, right? Like, I know all about that. I come from that. I've experienced it in a fun, lighthearted setting. I've experienced it in a more like antagonizing, in your face. I'm really saying these things to belittle you and demean you and ridicule you. I've experienced the whole of it. But I'm just saying, even in the midst of all that, as far as I can remember, never at any point did I find myself in a phase of life where I was like, man, I wish I wasn't Asian. Or in fact, man, like, or not proud to be Asian. Like, I don't know. I mean, so this may be God's grace. I've just always felt like, man, he's carried me all these years to where, and obviously for my journey as Jin, right, it definitely intertwines and intersects with my career.
Yeah.
And my career choice.
Yeah.
Battle rapping. And could it be that was how I found my confidence and identity and be like, oh, y'all want to, by all means, make fun of the fried rice, the egg rolls, the math class, because I'm just going to take all of that and make you lunch meat. As you just say, if that's where I'm a lunch meat, y'all, with that. If that's why, and that kind of became my forte. You know what I mean? So maybe because of my that path, that ended up working out for me. You know, but I'm just saying that in these recent years, as we as a community are kind of making headway and progress, I hear a lot of my peers and these counterparts be very open and vocal and vulnerable, and I appreciate it. But just something as simple as like, I'm finally proud to be Asian, or like, man, I hated being Asian, or I just, you know, and I'm just like, dang. Specifically men, by the way, specifically Asian American males.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the female experience, which I'm sure hasn't been easy too, right? Because, you know, traditionally in that sense, at least within Asian America or pop culture, Asian women are fetishized. They're seen as like docile and like, you know, just servants. You know what I mean? So I get it. You know, and I mean, to be honest, as a young man, I had my role and kind of like, you know, but that's a broader like thing. It's not just Asian American females, but I think just females in general. And again, unfortunately, just within pop culture, you're just less likely to be taught to not objectify women and see them as equal humans. You know what I mean? So objectifying them and just misogynistic type views. And so I have to acknowledge that even in my lyrics and over the years, I've been guilty of. So not only just Asian American women, but I think just women, the female gender in general. You know what I mean? So part of my growth is acknowledging that. And then, like I have 2 sons now. So, I mean, I can't father the rest of the kids in the world, but at least for my 2 sons, I know damn sure I'm going to be like, look, this is how daddy did it, and this is what's wrong. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, you respect your mom, you respect, you know, your sisters and your aunties and just women in general, you know what I mean? But it's something they got to go through. But before I veer off, I guess what I want to kind of throw at you is, what's your thoughts on it? And did you ever in the course of life kind of look that in the face? Like, man, like, why am I Asian? Like, did you?
For sure, I did.
Okay.
I think, you know, it could be subtle. Like, dang, if I open my lunchbox and it's like the dumplings, like it's gonna stink up the car or whatever, and then people are gonna make fun of me and whatever. To like, whatever it was, or like, oh, let me just not talk about this part as much, or like, you know, like when my parents wouldn't have the best English or whatever, you know, these types of things.
That. Yeah, I went through that.
And so like all these things, you know, you kind of try to like hide or you know, put off to the side. But when it really, really hurt me, when I was like, I really don't want to be Asian, was when I really like put my heart into certain things. I did great. I deserved opportunities and I didn't get them. And that's when I was like, man, like, God, why did you make me Asian? You know, I didn't understand it at the time, very short-sighted view, but it was just like, if I just looked different, it would have been different. And, you know, one of the things that my family says to this day is like, man, if whatever you want to say, like if you weren't Asian, your career would have looked so differently. But then we also acknowledge the flip side. Like if I wasn't Asian, so many blessings and amazing things that have happened through me and opportunities and the platform, all that wouldn't be the same either. And so now I'm clearly at a place where I'm like, man, I love it. And I love when I hear people say, I'm proud to be Asian. But it does break my heart for the people that are like, man, I used to not be proud, because I resonate with that.
I feel you.
And so now I try to be even more, you know, there's certain things that are like seen as like dorky, Asian, or nerdy. Yeah. But it's like, man, I'm going to wear a Naruto t-shirt. I'm going to keep wearing a Naruto t-shirt because Naruto's awesome. I don't care if you don't like anime or not, or you think I'm a nerd, or I'm going to talk about video games and whatever.
Interestingly enough, there's like this, like not a weird, but there's like this kind of shift in culture too that, there's some diehard Uber Naruto fans that aren't even Asian.
Yeah, no. There's a ton. There's a ton
outside of the Asian community.
But I didn't know that.
I think it's always been, but it's becoming more. It's evolving and growing more and more. Like, but no, I get what you're saying. Like just the fact that you resonated with it, you know, and even those specific kind of references that you just made. The one that struck me, like, you know, the parents, you know, you know, my mom and dad, they immigrated of that generation, which I think so many did, right? 70s, 80s to the States. You know, my parents are from Hong Kong. So that component of just the language, you know, they're there.
For sure.
They're picking up the English. They're doing what they can. But yeah, and then you have us that come, you know, we're soaking all of this English up from birth, right? Yeah. So of course our English is going to be our English. Their English is going to be their English. Yeah. It's not lack of effort. Sometimes it might be, right? It's just different in every household. Yeah. But the point is that, you're out and about and you're just like at a restaurant and it's like, they can't order in English, but then you're like, let me do it for you. You know what I mean? Like, cause you're like, you don't know if it's going to be like complicated, or even when they do, you see the waiter who might not be Asian is like, I'm sorry, what is that again? And you're sitting there just like, she wants extra butter. Like, you know, like, it's just like, Ma will bang me, right? Or like, you know what I mean? I mean, I spoke Cantonese growing up at home, but again, I get it, and those things, elements resonate with me. But again, like, not credit to me, but I don't know, like by God's grace, I always just somehow navigated it, and I found it more amusing, or I embraced it. You know what I mean? This is what I mean. Like, I embraced that, so their English isn't fluent, so to speak, right? But even as a kid, I always looked at it as a superpower, because we'll be in settings and environments, and I would think it would be cool that we can be like English, and then if you want to talk about this person, you could suddenly turn into Cantonese, right? Yeah. It's like, like, you know what I mean? And then it's like our own little thing too, which you could say isn't the most healthy either, right? Because you're essentially talking smack about someone in there. But that's the whole dynamic of this topic we're talking about. But just how you look at things. And I think that also plays into just my household. You know, it was a very Asian-centric, which I'm sure your household was, right? But between the language, the food, what you watched on TV, like, so it was all like this two worlds that you lived in.
My friends and teammates would come over and be like, what? I gotta take off my shoes? Like, yeah, fool, you just run around the park in the dirt. You know, wear your shoes into my house? Like, what?
So, I mean, it's these topics, you know, you can talk about them forever.
But, you know, that leaves us with time for just one thing.
Which is a debate.
The freestyle.
Do we put pineapples on pizza? Do we?
I think it's acceptable, but it's just...
Oh, that's it. I'm out.
It should be an exception.
You just said it's acceptable? No.
It's acceptable, but I don't do it.
No judgment. All right. What, we gonna do a freestyle?
We're gonna do a No. You're gonna do a freestyle.
Okay. We'll do something cool. I have an idea already. You play the beat.
All right.
This is like a very like freestyle fun thing to do. You play it? You can start playing.
Oh, just start it? All right.
Yeah. You can turn it up a bit, too. I guess we'll let these mic pick up a bit. You can give me words.
Ooh.
No? Yeah.
All right. Kings.
Oh, okay. Hey, yo. Now I'm back again on this instrumental. My favorite team's the Kings, not the ones from Sacramento. I'm talking about the ones at New Taipei. I just watched them beat the Fubons like the other day. The score was 120-50. Actually, it wasn't, but that's how I felt with me. But either way, shout out to the Fubon team. But the Kings is going all the way. You know what I mean?
All right, Joseph.
Joseph, he was the player of the week. So shout out to him, because he was going deep, raining threes. Actually, I don't know his actual stats, but he was getting buckets, and that is just a fact. So either way, I'm still coming with this rhyme. Shout out to him and JLin one time. The brothers Lin on the court doing their thing. We going all the way this year, new Taipei Kings. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go.
That was awesome.
Your turn. No, I'll give you a word. Naruto.
Naruto.
Try to stop the beat when your time. Nah, I'm gonna let him off the hook.
I was thinking. I was like, I was thinking
was
this
ready?
whole time. I was like, what is he gonna do if he calls on me? But
No, this is what we
I only came with 2 lines.
I feel like, let's hear it. You got it? Let's hear it. Acapella. Give me the 2.
Acapella.
Yeah.
The big question is, can JLin freestyle or not? Actions speak louder than words. Mic drop.
Oh! I'll take it. Let's
Does
go.
that count as a freestyle if I like
It does
pre-planned
count.
it?
No,
If
does
I
count.
pre-planned it,
Don't
though?
be so.
All right.
Don't be
All
so. Don't be so picky. That's good. I'll take it.
I only had 2 lines. I'm sorry for messing
Fans
up the
will
mic.
take
I'm
it.
sorry for messing
We'll
up the
take
mic.
it. No, we'll take it. That was very hip hop, actually. Just taking the mic off and all of that. Let's see what Shaq thinks in Mandarin. 连书豪，你的 freestyle 不错。Thank you, Shaq.
I
谢谢你啊 Shaq.
No, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Thanks for having
Thank
me. What is it? We still don't know what this is, though.
What is this? Welcome to What Is This? That's the end of What Is This?
Still trying to figure it out.